Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Apocalypse Movies. Geo here with Keith Barnes, and this is our discussion for Creed 3, the third installment in the Rocky spinoff that focuses on the character of Adonis Creed.
I need you to let go of your fear. Let go of the guilt. Let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
I feel those chains are breaking, yeah. I fear God, I don't fear death. I see those stripes and take a step.
Keep in mind, this is spoiler discussion, so we will be talking about the movie in detail, plot points, outcomes of the fights, and get into all that. So if you haven't seen Creed yet, Creed 3, we highly recommend it, especially in IMAX. If you have the opportunity, check it out, or just watch the movie and then come back and check out our discussion. But Keith, I want to go to you first. Third installment, Michael B. Jordan taking over as director. And, this is a different kind of story in the sense that Michael B. Jordan's Adonis Creed is getting a blast from the past. And it's in the form of Damian Anderson, Diamond Dame, who was involved in an altercation with Adonis Creed in his early upbringing, and Damien went to go and serve time, a lot of time, actually 18 years, gets out, sees Adonis Creed, his childhood friend and brother, in the limelight, the spotlight, with him being a world champion. And things begin to unravel in Adonis's life as Damien has his own plans with both the boxing world and Adonis. I want to ask you about your thoughts on this movie, and especially compared to the other Creed installments.
I love this movie. That was excellent. Really, really good.
Nice.
Really, really good. Great, actually. And yeah, it's 3 for 3. All three of these movies, I think, they're standouts. Just excellent, well-told stories. When you get into sequel territory, once you get to where you're making a third movie in any franchise, whatever it is, they're kind of like, okay, what is this? What are we doing here? Are we retreading stuff we've seen already? Or are we trying to, you know what I mean? Just they're finding, and even though it's another person with connection to Adonis Creed's past, yes, but it's a unique story. Well done by Michael B. Jordan in his directorial debut.
Yeah.
There's some moments where, or at least for me, like you can kind of tell, okay, this is the first time director. But there's a lot of different stuff in terms of, it's not just, and we'll get to it later, but different ways to show it's not just like it's not just, okay, it's two guys in the ring boxing. We've seen that in a million, not just in all the Rocky movies, but just in every boxing movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
They do take a unique twist on showing the actual fight, and both visually and story wise. He did some different things, which I appreciated.
Especially with the fighting style too.
Yeah. And with that, as far as the fighting, choreography is great as always. The choreography is always great. Cinematography is always great. You feel like you're in there. You feel the brutality of the fight, of all the fights. Well done. Love this movie. Love it. I'm good. Listen, you got a good story. I'll be there for Creed 4 if there is going to be one. But yeah, I love this one. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's when you get to the third movie, there's only so much you can do, especially when it's something like boxing. We know there's going to be another fight. You risk it being too formulaic to where it takes you out of the movie, and then all of a sudden, why do we go to the movies, right? Escape. But to your point, story and character, right? It's a very personal story for the Adonis Creed character, and just it's someone who, okay, first off, it's a well-written character.
Yeah.
elevated by the performance of Jonathan Majors, who just, as much as you want to root against him, you find him very likable. There are moments where he's humbled, he's thankful, he's grateful.
Yeah.
But then you see him like show that he is still holding on to a grudge by the way he manipulates things in this movie. Like I remember watching it. I'm gonna jump forward to like the middle of the movie where Damien wants a shot. He wants his window. He's already lost so much time. His window is about to shut. He needs an opportunity to fight, and he knows Adonis can make something happen. Put his name out there on something. And I was like, wait a minute, because there's a party that Damien is invited to. It's Bianca's music label, and he's hanging out. And there's other people there. There's two fighters who are about to fight the reigning champion. I forget the character's name. Oops, excuse me. Sorry. Who was the character's name? The reigning champion. It was I think it was Felix. Felix Chavez, right?
Chavez. Yep.
It was Felix Chavez against Victor Drago, right? And I love that they included Drago in here.
Yes.
It felt very much like a movie set in a franchise.
Yes.
And the reason why I bring that up is because there's something that happens in that scene where Damien stages. He doesn't really stage. He stages an accident, right?
No, he does.
and you see just before that accident happens to Victor Drago, there's Damien talking to somebody, and I was like, wait a minute, did my eyes see me right? Did he just whisper to somebody? Like, what's he up to? You know, what's he up to? And then you see that play out, and I was like, wow, he really did that. And then of course the movie reveals later that Damien
set that up.
Yeah, set all that up. But it's a really, really well written character with performance from Jonathan Majors, who's just having a hell of a year.
Yes,
that in large part helps elevate this movie that I was concerned about, because it was Michael B. Jordan directing first time.
Yep.
Coming off of a sequel that was good, directed by Stephen Caple Jr., but it wasn't as good as the first one. So it was a little bit on the decline. And then Sylvester Stallone famously announced that he is retired from the character of Rocky, that he will not be coming back. And that's a big part. But Michael B. Jordan and company, they pulled it off. This was definitely a Creed movie. And it separated itself from... It stepped out of the shadow that is Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
And to your point, I very much appreciate the creativity that they did with the fights. First off, the slow motion of, seeing a punch in the ribs. It took me back to like Sherlock Holmes, like when Robert Downey Jr. would fight. And then Michael B. Jordan's inspiration from anime, with
it's clear in this,
And while there were times where it didn't look right on screen, I still appreciated it, because you have to do that at some point. There's no way you're gonna watch a real fight in all 12 rounds. I mean, it's gonna be a 3-hour movie.
right.
But and then the thing that they usually do, where like they show the first 2 rounds, and then it's a montage from rounds 3 to 11,
right,
and whatnot. In this one, it was they illustrated not only the fight, but the fight between these two characters, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Right. You had the jail bars in there, all foggy and clouded. The stadium was empty. It was just them.
There's no music or anything. It's
nothing.
It's just the two of them just punching each other.
Yeah. And so, what's something that you want to discuss with this movie? Like something that, maybe should be touched on further.
I love let's jump to the very beginning.
Okay.
I love the opening. I love the idea that, it's some time has passed, right? Creed he's kind of on his last. It's his last fight, right? He's got to a point where he's kind of he's not washed up, but he's at the end of his career,
Right.
And it sounds like it's pretty clear. Like
And who is he fighting?
And he's fighting the guy from the first movie.
Yeah.
Who's a real boxer? I can't think of his name.
Tony Bellew as Pretty Ricky Conlon.
Conlon, yes.
Yeah.
English fighter. Fighting who he lost to in the first movie.
Right.
And he's fighting in South Africa. It's his last fight, and he wants to go out as champion. Which a lot of boxers, and if you follow boxing, and it doesn't happen often. Even when it does happen, they always come back at some point, which of course Creed did. But yeah, I love that whole setup. And I like how he's gotten to a point where, as much as they like the guy that beat him in the first movie, he's got to a point where even though they're still battling it out, he's still really good. But he figured it out. Like he got to a point where it's time to beat this guy, and he's like, "Nah, I got it." Like they're trying to talk.
It was very much when Anakin Skywalker tells Count Dooku, "My powers have doubled since the last time."
100%. Right.
It's like
right.
Yeah.
And to the point where he beat him easily once he decided, all right, let me stop playing around. I'm gonna beat this guy. And so it shows his progression as a fighter.
Yeah.
Over the years. And then of course, obviously you mentioned Drago, and I love the inclusion of him because he's Creed's training the next new fighter who's going to be the next new great fighter.
Felix
Chavez is mentioned.
He tries to do the Oscar De La Hoya Golden Boy promotion.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And he's setting it up that Drago's going to fight this guy. By the way, that's a movie, I understand, but that two completely different weights.
Way different.
You know what I'm saying?
You have
that guy's a light heavyweight at most.
I would say welterweight.
Welterweight, yeah. So
welterweight, and then you have like it'd be like it would be like who's a fighter that I could think of? Wow, they're all blanking. It would be like, oh my God, what's his name? Damn it!
Shoot,
the guy who got beat up by Juan Manuel Marquez. I can't think of it, but
yeah,
it would be like one of those welterweights fighting
like
Klitschko brothers.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And
don't watch that. Like, why do they do that? I mean, it's a movie. It's fine.
Yeah.
But even with Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan, I'm like, listen, Jonathan Majors got super buff for this. He's really big. I don't know if they'd be in the same weight class. Roy Jones Jr. did that. I mean, he put on a lot of weight, went up to light heavyweight, and beat a guy. So
yeah,
it's possible. But anyway,
it's a movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a movie. That's fine. Just
Miguel Cotto. That's who I was thinking of. Miguel Cotto.
Miguel Cotto. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm a boxing head, so that's kind of why. That's the only reason like I would notice something like that. Normal people wouldn't notice that, so that's fine. But yeah, I love the inclusion of Drago, even though we didn't actually see him really fight, other than the training with Creed later.
Yeah,
but I like how because we last saw in Creed 2, Drago stayed in America. He moved to America, and so I like that they've developed, despite the history with their fathers, and with Rocky, they've developed a little bit of a relationship. There's some respect there,
right?
They gave each other a little kind of head nod, and they did a little trash talking when they were sparring later in training in the movie, which is some lighthearted trash talking. But Drago's helping him train, like getting him ready to fight this guy. So, which I love that. I love the inclusion of the two fighters from the first two movies. And just, I love that. Just it's still set in the Rocky world. There are references. Stallone himself is not in it, of course. We don't see him. We don't see Philadelphia or anything, but. There's references to Rocky, obviously, of course, to Apollo, and different things that happened throughout the course of those films. And the gym, of course, the Delphi gym, and just And then of course, to jump back again to the setup of the movie, obviously we see the flashback of the two of them when they were young. Adonis.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, yeah, really good. And the fact that what's his name again? Damien was Golden Glove champion. He was going to be the new hot young kind
And
of
you
amateur
saw
coming
it,
up.
right?
Right.
His amateur fight, you know, he leans over, he says checkmate, and then
Right.
boom, gives it to him.
Right.
And I like that they also included Wood Harris as Tony Little Duke Evers, the trainer. You know,
Yeah.
he's there at that time, and it shows
Yeah.
that he was a part of these boys' life, and he's
And
just
he
like,
knew. Yeah.
"What are you two doing here?" You
Right.
know,
Right.
it's like, "Oh boy," and Adonis is like, yeah, you caught
Right.
me."
Right.
Let's talk about Tony Little Duke Evers, the character. Like, I like him. I think.
Love
Correct me
Wood
if I'm
Harris,
wrong.
man.
He's the son of Apollo Creed's trainer, right?
Yes.
Duke.
Duke.
If
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if
I
I'm
can't
not
remember the actor's
mistaken.
name. But love.
Yeah, the former trainer of Apollo Creed and Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little Duke. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I like that. First off, I like the character in the role. I think the actor does a good job. But like he's kind of like the voice of reason to Adonis, and like,
Yes.
dude, what are you doing? Stop. This guy is exactly who, you know, we all thought he was. You know, there was never a doubt in Little Duke's mind that, you know, Damien has turned a page in
Right.
his, you know, he's still held on to a lot of that grudge, you
Yeah.
know, and
And that anger. Yeah.
and you understand it too.
Yep.
18 years, but what's revealed, and I'm surprised that Adonis never told this to Damien. Okay, maybe in the fourth movie he will, if they do a fourth movie and he's in there together. They both are in there together, but Adonis's mother, Marianne, played a role in that. She
Yep.
held all the letters that Damien wrote, you know, and that just that twisted. That was a knife that twisted, you know, even
Yeah.
further the wound that started when Damien entered Adonis's life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how'd you,
Yeah.
how'd
Yeah.
you feel
Well,
about that?
you're absolutely right. And it's not just the anger and the bitterness of being locked up. I mean, but these are two kids that, you know, they were orphans, and they were two kids just unfortunately just kind of lost in the system.
Yeah,
Duke
and they
himself,
beat on their caretaker.
right?
They have,
Well, and because their character, they were being abused at the home,
yeah,
you know, the group home they were in.
right,
So that was an interesting thing to include in this movie, because that is an issue all across the country. That sort of thing.
absolutely, yeah,
Duke, the character Duke, has probably seen a lot of that over the years, and so, you know, people come to a gym, a lot of things they want to ask. You go to a boxing gym, like, why do you want to do this?
right,
You know? And he's probably seen a lot of angry young men, especially young black and brown men, who probably, like you said, full of anger and just want to hurt people, want to hurt somebody, take that aggression out, and that's not a good reason to get into boxing. You know, so Mike Tyson was that, honestly. If you go back and look at the history of Mike Tyson, that was him as a kid.
oh yeah. Troubled
you know,
kid. If it
yeah.
wasn't for Customato, you know,
Mhm.
just man, he turned his life around.
Right.
And in the first movie, that's touched on because Little Duke is like, "No, you don't belong in this gym. Your
Right.
daddy died in the ring." But there was more to it. It wasn't just his father. He's known Adonis
knew
his
him.
entire life.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good. I like how they tie that together.
Right.
Here in the third movie, but yeah, and then, you know, obviously being abused by one of the, you know, people that was supposed to be taking care of them.
Right.
So the fact that they get out and they see him out in the street, like, you know, Adonis, he mentioned it in the movie, like, he saw him at the store there and he just snapped, you know.
Right.
And that's what buried trauma, you know, buried trauma or internalized trauma will do. It'll just come out. It'll come out at points you don't know when. I love that this movie touched on a lot of that, and touching on the idea of talking about this stuff, you
Right.
know, getting it out, you know, because otherwise stuff that, you know, bad stuff could happen. You try to internalize that stuff. Yeah, that's the theme I felt like I took from that is the theme of healing. And this is the thing about this. I don't want to go too deep, but the movie kind of, I mean, it was a deep movie in that sense.
Yeah.
But, you know, with young black men, well, black men of all ages, but just having to do that, have these conversations. This is something that these two people could have they could have avoided all this by just simply having a conversation.
Right.
You know, because neither one of them was wrong. I mean, you know, Damien coming out and feeling the way he felt, you're right. Like you're like, yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
He's upset. He felt like Adonis abandoned him. He told him, he wrote him all these letters. Adonis is like, I never got those. So I don't know what you're talking about, you know. And I love Jonathan Majors' performance because he really felt like he really played, like I believed him as a guy who just got out of prison. Like he's kind of awkward. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know how to, you know, like he doesn't know how to act out in
especially
the world.
At that music label party, you know, he's just chilling, you know.
Right. Yeah. You know, and then he's in awe of everything. This is a kid that they were clearly super tight as they were kids, and you would kind of be awkward, you know, around each other after so much time of just nothing. And Adonis reveals like later, like he didn't visit, call, or anything that entire time. So he's got a little bit of guilt for that. But you can see the awkwardness in Jonathan Majors. Like when he goes to his house, he's just looking around all the stuff like, man, oh wow, like this is. You don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, like, or if he really is.
I think there is a bit of sarcasm.
A little bit of
there. Yeah. With Damien, there's a level of mind games that he's playing because he knows Adonis so well. He sees through all this, you know, business with the suits. You know, he talks about Adonis wearing the suits and all that. He's just like, look at you, wow,
yeah,
fancy. A big element and something that, you know, you kind of touched on is talking about the trauma, right? And it takes a big part of the movie for Adonis to finally open up to Bianca, his wife, played by Tessa Thompson, reprising her role.
Great role.
And
great.
Oh yeah. And Adonis being at a different stage in his life where he can't really afford to play these games anymore because he is a father to Amara Creed, played by Mila Davis Kent.
So
let's talk about the family aspect of this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That
As
little
a family
girl
man, go ahead.
Great. She was so good. It was adorable.
Yeah.
Great performance. I'm loving. We've got a lot of great you know, death factors coming out, some great performances. You know, obviously the young lady from the Quiet Place movies.
Mm-hmm. The Last of Us
with that great kid. That kid was great in that one.
Yeah.
Of course, this little girl really, I mean, it's just excellent. That dude, Echo, the woman that plays Echo and Dared. But Hawkeye. I mean,
the representation, man.
Right.
That's amazing. You know,
and
it all works.
Right. I was gonna say good act. Like that's a great community. Like, okay, we can act too. You know, like. So I think that's really cool.
And in Creed, you know, Bianca, when we first meet her in the first movie, her hearing is slowly going away, and you know it's pretty much all but gone. That's why she doesn't do live performances anymore, right?
Yeah, which is that's a great inclusion for her character. Like she's not just there to be Creed's wife; like she's going through something as well. And I love what she reveals. Like, yeah, that bothers her. Like she can't perform anymore. That's the thing she loves to do.
And Damien
kind of calls her on that.
Yeah, like, he peels back the layers on. He's like, yeah, you do.
Right.
You do. Man, God, such a great character, man.
And listen, and he's had a lot of time to think about all this stuff. It's probably all he's thought about the entire time being in prison. So, but yeah, great performance. But again, and like I said, about the little girl, and it has some stakes there because clearly she's got some of that aggression that her father had probably when he was a kid.
When she punches that bully girl, the girl who bullied her in the classroom, I kid you not, 2 rows behind me, like towards the center, because I was sitting off to the side, there were these 2 older black ladies who, the moment she punched the bully, the ladies were just like, "That's right, girl. That's how we handle it." And I'm just like, only like people talking in movies, but I dig it. I love it. I love that the audience was into it.
Right. And that's, you know what? And that's the split, because there were people that would have split on that. Like some people would be like, yeah, that's the way to do it. And others would be like, no, we can't have that. And that's the argument that him and his wife had.
Yeah. Adonis and Bianca, they're just like, Adonis is like, cool, you know, or like, yeah,
she should be able to defend herself.
And Bianca, and they have that conversation at dinner time, when they're setting the
Right.
table.
We got to teach her that you can't just hit everybody. That she kind of basically says, like you used to do when you were a kid. You can't just hit everybody that you get
Right.
into conflict with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a parenting debate that's been going on forever. That will continue.
It will forever go on.
Yeah. I always tell my kids, just like I was taught, like just don't start the fight. My dad always told me, you'll never get in trouble if you get into a fight at school as long as you didn't start it.
Right.
There's reason you got into a fight, fine, but don't be the one to start it. But also don't let anybody just don't let anybody pick on you. And push you.
Don't get punked, because then you're just
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is, unfortunately. And people, a group of people won't understand that, no matter how much you try to convince them. But stuff like that does absolutely happen.
Sure.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of earlier you were saying how Damien is like, at like Michael B. Jordan and like, or Adonis and like his house when he sees the see-through second floor.
See-through floor, yeah.
See-through floor.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
I know, right? I've
That's
never
a pretty cool
heard
feature
of
in
that.
the house. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's just amazed when he sees his daughter, which is a great performance. He's like, wow, okay. I wonder, that seemed genuine, that part there. Where he does appreciate that, this kid he's got a child of his own. But and the daughter turns out like even though the mother, Tessa Thompson, kind of trying to keep her away from it, but she's been watching all his fights. Like she's kind of been sneaking on YouTube, watching all her dad's fights. And clearly we've talked about, maybe jump ahead, talk about the future of this franchise. It seems like they're setting that up.
Clearly setting that up. Yeah. Which, as of right now, I don't mind, because it was so well done in this. It didn't feel forced, predictable. You could probably have an argument there, but the execution, you can't lie, was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And so that could be another avenue that they explore right there. But yeah, I thought the whole family aspect was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
The conflict between Bianca and Adonis, the struggle of Amara trying to be good, but she's a fighter.
Right.
She's her father's daughter.
100%.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the ending where it slowly pans out and it's Adonis in the ring with the daughter, and Bianca as the corner man, and just just the three of them. It's just,
I love that ending so much. Like that was just beautiful. And that definitely, and I love the struggle again. At least the conflict between him and Tessa Thompson. Like she doesn't want to, she fully supports her husband and his career and everything he's done, and even as she's had to sacrifice a little bit of her own career, certain aspects of her career, like performing in particular.
Right.
Shout out to they got Kalani, the artist that was performing at the party, which is awesome. I love Kalani.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was on the Suicide Squad soundtrack in 2016.
She was, she was.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. It says right here, Kalani cameo. That's awesome.
Very cool. But no, I love how, because you remember they, like at the end in Creed 2, when the daughter was being born, like they were worried that she would lose her hearing, and I think they did discover that she did. Like she was probably going to be deaf.
She had the same deficiency as her mother.
Yeah.
So it was genetics, Yeah.
So them carrying that over, and like it will be cool to see that if they do that in the future. If they make her kind of the next fighter, and her having the challenge of not only being Adonis Creed's daughter, Apollo Creed's granddaughter, and she's deaf. So I think everything's built in right there. Like,
dude, oh man, just imagine like they're filming a fight sequence and there's a slow motion punch that goes right in the ear. Oh, and then it's just, oh man,
yeah, right.
They could do some things with this, the future of this franchise. Let's talk about the future of the franchise for a moment. First off, did did you feel Stallone's absence as Rocky at all? Like, was there a moment or moments where it was just like this would have been the perfect time for him to show up and say something?
I thought I would going into it. I was a little. Um, I trusted the people, everyone involved. I knew
Right.
Ryan Coogler was someone involved. I knew the story would be like it wouldn't be doing this if it was going to be just
Yeah, Kugler, by the way, did help write the story and
right.
did produce. Yeah,
Yeah. So I fully trusted that. Similar to Creed 2. I didn't even know he wasn't directing. I knew it was going to be in good hands because
right.
I mean this whole thing is happening because of him. He pitched this story to Rocky,
Yeah,
to Stallone in the first place. So I know he would have it in good hands. I knew he would trust himself and everybody else, the writers, and of course Michael B. Jordan, giving him his blessing to direct. But I thought that the absence of Stallone might be a thing, but I didn't really, other than him mentioning, literally saying Rocky's name at whatever the points he mentioned in, I didn't really think of it. There were a couple times I could imagine like, oh, this would be a point where if Rocky was here, he would show up. But I think the whole idea of this whole thing of all three of these movies has been him wanting to stand on his own.
right.
And so I think that probably in the real world, in real life as well. But it makes sense, even though it didn't happen in the way you want it to. With Stallone, kind of, and I don't know if you know the actual specific reasons he's stepped away from it. But it story wise, the way it happened in real life, it worked as far as in the movies story wise. Like it makes sense that he would try to be his own man and do all this stuff on his own.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because like we said, he's at a different stage in his life now. He's a family man, and he is seasoned to the business of boxing. Clearly as a promoter.
Right.
There was one moment where I was like, oh man, I really wish Rocky could have been around for this. But other than that, I mean, hey, they defied the odds and proved that there is room in this franchise, in this saga, for the Creed name. It's strong enough and the characters are well written enough to where it can stand on its own.
Yeah.
I would like to see a Creed 4 eventually. I don't know how much longer further down the road it takes. Perhaps one more fight from Adonis. And in a perfect world, I would like to see an appearance one more time from Salai in this one. Now, is it necessary? Not exactly. Creed 3 proved that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way Creed 2 ended with Rocky being reunited with his son and meeting his grandson in the process was a fitting ending. But I'm just talking about me as a fan. It's just something that I personally would enjoy. But what about you? Like, what would you like to see from Creed 4? Would you like to see Stallone make an appearance again?
I would definitely, and even if, listen, we saw the great Felicia Rashad playing Adonis' mother,
Yes.
adopted mother. They set it up from the very beginning that she was having health problems, and of course her character passed away, which a turning point for this movie.
Right.
I think I don't want the death of Rocky to be off screen. I know we thought it was going to happen in Creed, the first Creed. It felt like that's where that was going. We found out he had the same cancer his wife had. But obviously he was able to pull through. But I hope that if there is a fourth, and it's weird because each one of these movies has kind of felt like it could be the end of the whole story.
Sure.
And then they figure out a way to kind of bring it back. But yeah, if there is a Creed 4, and if I hope that Stallone can be talked into it, and if the idea is for Rocky to pass away at some point, then I don't want that to be off screen. If they're going to do that, listen, Rocky could live to be 100 years old. That's fine too. But I would like to see him again. either way. They could just, hey, Rocky just retires. He's happy watching. He's running his restaurant in Philly, and he's just watching boxing.
Yeah.
So,
man,
yeah.
I think it'd be pretty cool to see Damien return as well. I love that character so much.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense, but how they go about it, obviously they can't fight again. So is it Adonis in Damien's corner or something? Or
I do wonder. I wonder about that. Like
or is it Damien saying, you know what? I had my fill. I became champion for about, I don't know, a couple months.
However long, few months, yeah.
And now he is in Adonis's quarter. So,
well, it's amazing. And they talked about it in the movie what a story it would be. They thought it was going to be the other way with Felix beating him. They thought Felix would beat him easily, but
right.
It's a hell of a story. Guy gets never fought. He's not a professional at all. Becomes champ, beats the best boxer in the world, and becomes champion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would be fascinating. I do. It kind of leads me to wonder, like, what becomes of their relationship, you know, because there's a lot. Obviously, they'd have to deal with. I like that the end of the movie was kind of just, like they have the fight. Adonis beats him, and he goes to see him in his locker room at Dodger Stadium, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but he's just there. He has a moment. They sit down. He just says, "I'm sorry." They do their their handshake, and he just says, like, "Hey, this is on me. I should have reached out to you." And Damien's like, "No, we were kids, man. It's not on you." Yeah. And Adonis, I love what he says. He says, "It's not on either of us," because they were dealt. Like I said, they were just two kids, unfortunately, stuck in the system, and they dealt a difficult hand. And they both, like I mentioned earlier, were not really taught to really how important healing is, especially when you're traumatized like they were. So I just love that ending. How it wasn't a super. They had a moment where that you could see the possibility for the possibilities there for them.
Yeah, he says,
but it wasn't super kumbaya.
If you ever need me, you know where to find me.
Right.
Yeah, you know where I am. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was it. So, but yeah, that's really poignant, and I love that. And of course, obviously, the ending with him and his wife and kids in the ring. That was really great. But you could bring him back. I don't know. Would you bring back Drago maybe?
So HBO Max is developing a Drago spinoff.
Ooh, okay, that's great.
So that could be interesting,
because there's a lot there too with what happened with Drago.
Absolutely, yeah.
Shame him and his dad feel, and
get Dolph Lundgren back as Ivan, and
the mom.
What's her name? Bridget Nielsen.
Get her. Oh man, because the whole thing, it was like he was like, "Hey, we just shame with this country," and this, young Drago being like, "What shame? Like, how are you? Like, they turned their back on us. How are you trying to go get back into these people's circles? Like,
the country, your wife, my mother, and there's a lot there too.
There's a lot there, yeah. So I'd love to see that. That'd be great.
Man, there's so much they can do with this franchise if they continue going about it the right way and getting the right creative people and the filmmakers and all that. And man, dude, yeah.
If it's in Ryan Coogler's hands and he's got ideas, or him and his people have ideas, and I fully trust them. So as long as he's in charge, I'm with it. Whatever they want to do. So.
Yeah, and I think I'll say it once again. I think I speak for both of us. I am so happy that this movie turned out to be so good.
Same.
Really enjoyed it. It gives the first movie a run for its money. If you had to rank it right now, how would you rank the 3 Creed movies? I think the first one is.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah,
I think that one's classic.
Now, do you like the second one or the third one more?
Well, I loved Creed 2. I really did. I loved the Drago storyline. I was concerned going into that one too. Like, oh, Drago. Like, how are they going?
Yeah.
Man, they made that. That was really compelling. Really.
Mm-hmm. Especially on the Drago side too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't know which which one of those is more dramatic, like the Drago thing, because that's the son of the man who killed your father, or this one where, obviously your
childhood best friends, brothers
went to jail, essentially went to jail for you, essentially.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's tough, man.
It's tough. Oh, I don't know. They're pretty even. I'd probably, because of the history of the Drago thing, obviously with everything that happened, we saw that happen in the Rocky 4. I'd probably go with that. But they're pretty even. I mean, it's not.
So you'd go 1, 2, and 3.
I would just go with that. I'd probably just go 1, 2, 3. But only they're separated by millimeters. Like,
you've made a compelling argument about the second one. It's closer, but I would go 1, 3, 2.
Okay.
But, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Right.
They're all good to great.
Absolutely.
Good to great.
Absolutely.
And my only hope, and I think you feel the same way, is that they give the rights back to Stallone.
Really?
Okay, Stallone, I know you're doing well, so buy the rights if you have to.
Yeah.
Just I would rather see it in you and your family's hands than with whoever the hell this Winkler guy is, and what he does. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would. I very much wanted to see it because I'm a fan of boxing and I miss boxing.
Right.
I miss it. I don't like what the sport has become nowadays. I would rather watch more Creed movies with choreographed fights than watch these athletes try to box, or the Jake Pauls and all that. No,
that's not.
They whatever. Earn your money. You have
YouTubers boxing. Get out of
here. YouTubers boxing. Yeah.
No,
I
there's some. I just the last month or so, month and a half. I've been watching boxing on Showtime, and there's some.
There's a few. You got the Canelo Alvarez, Triple G, and all that stuff. But it's just it's not what it's nowhere near what it used to be.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for our review of Creed 3. We're just over 40 minutes. That's awesome. Check it out if you've seen it. Let us know your thoughts on the movie and where do you want to see the franchise go. We love to hear from you guys. Keith, thank you so much for joining. And you guys be sure to catch our movie hangout show, Apocalypse Now, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'd be curious to hear the other guys' thoughts once they watch the movie. Come on, guys. Watch the movie, Apocalypse Movies.
Yes.
But anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. And hit that thumbs up. We appreciate you so much. So the next review, you guys, take care.